recording. Ha ha, ha, ha 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 ha. Hi, my name's Irrelevant, and finally, I get to assemble my shed. The best way to find out if your tarp's any good or not is to actually use it to cover your freshly painted base and find out it leaked. So this paint job got wet. However, it doesn't seem like it's damaged it, so I think we're gonna be okay. Actually looks pretty fine other than a little bit of dirt that got on it. Now this is a Royal Building Products vinyl shed. Yeah, they're actually pretty good sheds. I've had another one just like it for 10 years and it stood the test of time. I've dismantled it and cleaned it up and rebuilt it, kind of, reseated it there, and now it's as good as new. So I didn't hesitate to buy a used one of these. If you're tuning in because you want to know how these things go together, well, this isn't a tutorial video. This is a story about me putting my shed together, but nevertheless, you're gonna get a good taste of what you're getting yourself into. As you can see, it is this whole kit of Lego components. And before I could start assembling, I had to clean it up. I did film a little bit of it, but I'm sure you can imagine what it's like, a guy ripping some pressure washer. It's not particularly interesting. The way this thing mitigates water and prevents leakage is actually by taking the water and deliberately channeling it in certain ways. In ways sometimes it gets inside of the panels, especially the roof panels. And especially the roof edges are going to get mucky and gucky, and sometimes even moss or something grows in them. So if you're doing a rebuild, you want to clean that out. It's funny because of how it just kind of all, it's just a bunch of panels now that I have to assemble together. There's a trick to it, but it's actually quite easy. Now, one of the first things we need to do is install these base rails. That's what the panels are gonna bolt into. Now, this gets screwed down to the base and also sealed with silicone. I got this metal stuff. Well, those are metal rails, but it was $1 cheaper than the other stuff anyway. The idea is this is going to get sealed in a way that water that runs down is going to run out of these weeper holes right here. Those weeper holes are on the seams where the panels meet together. So water hits the panel and any that goes into that seam goes right down and out that weeper hole. And then to prevent water from getting underneath this thing, we're gonna seal it up with silicone. And that's pretty much the only sealing you're supposed to do on these sheds. There's one or two other spots that I like to put a little bit, but for the most part, this shed's designed in such a way that you want water to flow freely. And that's what's gonna stop it from pooling up and leaking inside of it. So unless there's some obvious fault points, which only happen with wear and tear, you're not gonna be using a whole lot of sealer on it. Now, if you remember, this is built out of pressure-treated wood, which means you can't just use any old screw. If you do, the chemicals in the wood are gonna rot it. So I got this one here specifically for pressure-treated wood. It's a structural screw. That's something that I wanted. That's what you want for framing. You don't just use any screw for any application. These ones are a bit overkill at 3 1/8, but I couldn't really find anything else I liked as much. You want to get past that first bit of plywood and into the framework. These ones are going to be going on the outer screw holes so that you can, it's going to bolt right into the framework. Actually, you know what? That seems appropriate for what we're trying to do here. And then for the outer screw holes that are just, you only have the plywood to bite into, I'm using some normal stainless steel screws. Yeah, they're metal screws. They're still gonna bite well. I couldn't find wood screws that were stainless steel of this type. They don't have to worry about pressure-treated wood as much because they're only going into plywood, but rust is a concern. See, if you look here, that's the condition of the cheap screw, whatever screws the last guy used to put the base down. And one of the biggest problems with these sheds is the screws they give you, they get really, really rusty and worn out. In some cases, their condition is really horrible. I've seen some just completely rot and snap out in disassembly. I'm assuming they're galvanized screws. I'm not sure, but either way, one upgrade I like to do is the stainless steel. And these are number 10 3/4 inch. That's pretty much the same size the shed uses to screw all the panels together. And I'm keeping that size, but moving the stainless steel, and the metal screws is gonna be pretty much applicable to the plastic also. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of these guys piloted into place so that I can start doing measurements and squaring up these rails as best I can. These screws make the claim that no pre-drilling is needed. I don't know how much I believe that. I like pre-drilling, so I wanna get that right on the edge as nice as possible. I think this side is the more square one, and then the other side's a bit off. So this side I'm gonna establish first. Once I kinda know where these are gonna go, then I'm gonna start busting out the cock. Let's see how well this is gonna work now. Oh, those are going in quite nicely actually, at least through the plywood. You know what? These screws are gonna be perfect for this application. Hopefully the tolerances of the vinyl is gonna be forgiving to any out of spec placements that I do. As an extra added bonus, I still haven't charged this 6.0 battery. We're working on the same charge that built this base, so let's see how much longer this 6.0 is gonna go in my impact driver. It's an older one, looks like a Star Trek phaser, so nothing special. So that's definitely in place now. Basically, I'm gonna start this side, measure up the other side. I'm not gonna put all the screws in, and then I'm gonna be pulling some of the screws back out after, and then putting some caulk down. I should get a hammer to pilot these holes. I should probably still punch pilot these holes, eh? Make these things go in a little bit more center. I like to use masonry nails for my punch piloting. Yeah, good old fashioned punchy pilot. Might get us a long way. These screws are really nice to work with. That just goes right in. As you can see, this isn't the fastest, most powerful impact driver. I wanted to call it an impact wrench for a second. Should have brought more screws with me. I'm getting out here in the back 40 and I haven't got a screw handy. Yeah, see, with this rail all together, as you can see, I fell a bit short right here. But I was expecting that because I know my base tolerances are slightly over the actual measurements of the shed. So I gotta confirm this measurement now, going all the way along here to make sure I put this in the right spot. Yeah, actually, yeah, the rails haven't changed, so pretty much my rail geometry is only off by less than a 1/16 of an inch. Surely the tent tolerances or the shed tolerances can accommodate that. One thing I gotta watch out for is the nails. They're probably right underneath where the screw wants to go. Squaring this up is gonna be tricky now. This is where we gotta measure thrice 3 times. But for the most part, if I make these rails bump uglies, they're gonna line right up, it looks like. How do we know how straight that is though? I'm gonna try comparing some measurements here. Yeah, this will be straight right here. Ow, it bit me. Okay, so how to do the next one? I'm gonna try to establish the same thing over on this end. We're gonna measure here, try to get the width correct, squaring along the front of this, which I feel is better than the rest of it. And it seems it's just a little wide. Need to come in like this much right here and bring this up here. Get that nice and straight. This maybe needs to shift a touch up. Yeah, right there, I like that. Of course, it chowders all the paint off that I just spent all that time putting on. Now, with this straight, let's pilot another hole right about there. Drive in another screw. Okay, now the angle of this is going to be a little tricky, but we can put a screw in here to establish it. All right, so we know this is the correct width here. So measuring across that established point there, we're gonna square this up. So that would go right there, which if we meet it up with that. So knowing this is about right, we'll put a screw here so that these meet up together as they should. Then using that as a pivot point, we can square this up right there. Right here should be just where we want it. I'll double check it against the other edge. Yeah, right there. There. That should be in the correct position now. So measuring this way, let's get dish where it's supposed to go. Yeah, like right there. Yeah. Oh, damn, I think there's a nail right where I have to put the screw. That might be a problem. We'll have to go on the inner screw and use one of the smaller. Hope for the best when we force a nail through there later. I'm gonna lift this board here so I can get a better measuring point here. Because we got it right where we want it here. Now we want to get it right where we want it here. Like that, right there. And that shouldn't have moved. Oh, nice hot humid day. Got my sweat on, but I like it. All right, now we're gonna go back over here. I need to get a different bit and screw. I need one of the small stainless ones for this because I'm not going into the framework with this next one. Line this up, yeah. Yeah, all right, we're coming right along here. Establish this pitch here, right there. All right, now what are the chances this pupper's just gonna schlep right in there? Oh, there's a significant gap. Please tell me this access is correct. Yeah, pretty much a little under even. All right, well, can't be helped. Hopefully the tolerances allow it. There's a significant gap here actually, that might be a problem. Or maybe not. We just gotta make sure we seal up those seams underneath. All right, we have our perimeter established. There's 2 screws in each rail, other than the one there that I pulled out. Now I have to go through the process of, yeah, I gotta seal it down. I hope I have enough caulk. That's what she said. It's difficult for a man to admit he doesn't know how to handle caulk very well. But at the same time, it could make sense. Maybe a woman would be good at this. They're crafty. They like their arts and crafts and their gluing. All right, so what we don't want is water to get underneath. So we have to put a bead of sealant that's going to prevent that from happening. So I'm gonna lift these guys so I can get underneath. The instructions tell you where to put the bead, but I've lost those instructions. Maybe I could have looked them up online. Now we wanna, of course, get it under these seams. Now I'm gonna put it on the very edge. Oh, not a steady hand today, eh, bud? They tell you just to use silicone. Part of me wanted to use thermoplastic. I know that would work really well, but thermoplastic is a bit too good. And if you ever need to take this apart again for refurbishing, you're not gonna be able to. Get these seams here. All right, now let's see if we can slop that back into place and get these screws back into place. Now, remember, water can get into these channels and weep out, which means they could probably get underneath your screw. So we're gonna wanna seal our screws into place too. Oh yeah, it's gooping everywhere. This is gonna work. All right, so now we're gonna drive this home. And some of these holes where the sealant went already have a bunch in it to, hey, what is that? Oh, there's a nail there. Okay, these nails are gonna be problems some places. Try not to get the caulk in the actual, you know, where you put your bit in. Okay, what do we do about this hole that has a nail in it? That's gonna be tricky. Oh yeah, there's a nail there. Can these drill through metal? Oh boy. Okay, we're gonna have to get a drill bit and put a fresh hole right beside because that's, yeah, I wanna make sure this is gonna mount down well, so there we go. Put some caulk in the hole and seal up the other hole too. Shouldn't be a screw right next to it, right? All right, now we're gonna put the other screws down. Or, no, we'll do that. Actually, yeah, we should do it now. You know what I need? Another impact driver so I don't have to switch bits. I can. We don't want water getting in. This one already has a lot in it. This one needs a bit. The little ooze that comes out the caulk bottle can be all I need for this. All right, so, okay, you gotta watch out for this right here. See, the caulk is starting to ooze into the weeping holes. You're gonna have to make sure you clear those holes after, or else they're not gonna work as intended. Question is, do I swipe my bead now or do I wait till after? Let's move on to the next one. Let's pull this screw, pull this screw. There's still just enough stick in the paint, right? Let's run our bead. There's plenty at the edge. Man, I sure hope I don't run out of this stuff and can get this all done today. Get underneath here, plop her down. Oh yeah. Get a screw into place. We'll schmoo for the screw. It's everywhere but on the screw. Yeah, maybe a little bit too much here. All right, that's another one. That's convenient. Some of these holes are already so full of caulking, I'm not gonna have to put any more on the screw. I'll put a little dab there, a little dab there, a little dab here. Move to our short screws. I think now that this is done, I'm gonna finish off my bead, which requires sticking your fingers in it. As we all know, that's how caulking works. Starting to get goopy already. Put on our side bead. Well, those edges are gonna be nice and sealed now, but so are those weeping holes. We're gonna have to clear out all those weeping holes after. Might have made more work for myself in that regard. What's the best way to do that now? Do I have a stick to poke through there? This looks about the right size to clear a weeping hole. I think I'm gonna burn through a lot of paper towels. Yeah, I better go get the bucket and the more paper towels. Yeah, I think now that you have a good general idea of what's going on here, we should just fast forward through it. It becomes a game of timing and technique, trying to get things settled while the caulk is still wet. My first little bits were quite sloppy, but as I went along, it got easier and easier. Got a technique down. The good news is, one tube was enough to do this whole circumference. I'm not gonna need to break open the second tube, which is good. I should be able to return it for some savings. I think I need to fix up that little corner there. Just when you thought you were finished playing with the caulk. Some sections are really yucky. This is where I first started off, and you know, these gobs they got a bit hard before I got to wiping them down. Other sections, though still a bit sloppy, look much nicer. And then I used a piece of stick to clear the weeping holes. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to make sure you clean those weeping holes. I also made a point to seal the seams together where the things join on the inside so that, you know, again, water might build up inside this channel and we don't want it to come inside. We want it to go out through the weepers. So now I shouldn't really need to wait for this to dry. The only controversy is I wasn't able to get enough screws in one shot to really get this done. I think I have enough to get it started. But yeah, now it's all about assembly.